My name is Fred Leo Brown, the brother of Roxanna Maudie Brown, a superstar in the world of Southeast Asian art. This is her story. Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play. That was the first memory I have of my sister Roxanna, her singing and swinging me in a hammock at our chicken farm in Orland Park, Illinois. Years later, I had mentioned to Roxanna I felt I had lived in a previous life during the Civil War. Roxanna didn't laugh but joined in. Yes, I feel the same way. I think I must have lived in Asia in another lifetime. Roxanna graduated from high school when she was 17 years old. By the age of 21, she was a graduate from Columbia University, New York City, with a degree in journalism. As for me, I landed in Vietnam during the war in 1967. I was given an R&R in Australia in August 1968. I invited Roxanna and my mother to join me in Sydney, Australia. Roxanne did not fly home after seeing me, but made her way across Australia and landed in Singapore. She got a job at the Singapore R&R Center for GIs like myself. From there, she had this idea that she'd fly to Vietnam and somehow get me out of the war. She was a month too late because I was severely wounded and already hospitalized. Regardless, she landed in Vietnam in December 1968 and immediately got a job as a freelance journalist. In so doing, she became the youngest accredited journalist of the Vietnam War. She stayed in Asia and by 1970 realized that Vietnam had many undocumented pottery kiln sites. She went out to explore and became hooked on the idea of becoming an Asian art historian. But the wars in Asia continued, and she began to cover the Cambodian War. She was also in Saigon the week of April 1970 when it fell into communist hands. She was an eyewitness to many historic events of that era. A few years later, she got a master's degree in Asian art from Oxford University. Then 20 years later, at nearly 60 years old, she got her doctorate degree from UCLA. She had achieved her lifetime goal. On Friday, May 5, 2008, while in Seattle, Washington for a conference, Roxanna was approached by federal agents at her hotel. She was interrogated for 4 hours and taken to a detention facility. She was allowed one call. She called me. I did not answer, and she called our cousin Karen. Roxanna became ill on Sunday, Mother's Day. She saw a doctor. She was too sick to make a court appearance on Monday, but was able to do so on Tuesday, May 13th. At that time, they told her she would be charged with 1 count of electronic fraud. She was also told she could face up to 20-year prison term. Agents called my cousin Karen to see if Roxanna was a flight risk. Karen said absolutely not. Roxanna is not guilty of the charges and is going to clear herself. Could I please talk to her? The request was denied. At this point, Roxanna had sat alone in a prison cell for nearly 4 days without outside contact. I had met Roxanna in Santa Monica, California, a few months back. We talked about the pending charges. She said that the problem was the appraisals, that like in real estate, it is subjective. She said she could find a number of artifacts that could easily justify anything she had appraised personally. I believe her, and I believe the government is on a witch hunt that will come of no good, that will only stain the reputation of the United States. My 62-year-old sister did not receive my last call in which I said, "Roxanna, I just called to tell you I love you." She died alone in a jail cell like an animal at about 2 a.m. Wednesday morning, March 14, 2008, of a perforated ulcer, a condition that is easily treated. I will not rest. I will seek legal action against those involved with the wrongful death of my beloved sister.